G'day folks, and welcome to the opening moves for Blau, published in 2015 by Compass Games, a Greg Blanchett design. This is scenario 23.1, the full campaign, from the 28th of June through to the 25th of December 1942. I'm going to try and explain things as I go and take it slow. So this will be a bit of a slow introductory recording of these opening moves. You can see the big arrows on the board. This is my plan of attack for the Axis. I did a brief introductory video of this game. It's divisional scale, 10 kilometers per hex. It stretches all the way down to Grozny and the Caucasus, way down there. So that's a huge campaign. Runs for up to 60 turns, as I said, until December 25th, 1942. There are a lot of units on the board, and there'll be more because there's a big reinforcement schedule. There are German breakdown units, which I really think they'll have to use. The lines will really stretch a long way down to the south. So the German plan here for this campaign is really broken into segments. For the first, I'm really focusing on the first 10 turns. What do I need to accomplish in the first 10 turns? And these arrows kind of sum up that plan. It is to try to pocket as many Soviet units on the front as possible to keep them inactive, non-committed, and surround them and eliminate them. And to do that, I have a 3-step plan. The first step is, and I should explain, that on the first turn, the Germans, the Axis, can activate headquarters from 2 coloured areas. What does that mean? You'll notice on each counter there are these little coloured circles on the side. This is purple, consists of the 4th Panzer Army and the 4th Panzer Army. Is it the 4th Panzer Group and 4th Army. 2nd Army, my goodness. And here we have the 2nd Hungarian Army with this colour. You've got the 6th Army in green down here, and over here in yellow, which is another important part of this plan, I've got the 1st Panzer Army area in with those yellow coloured bands. Now I can activate all the headquarters, seen here, in 2 of those coloured areas. And my plan is to activate yellow, but most importantly, pink up here in north. Sorry, I won't shift back and forward too much. This is where the first part of that offensive will take place. I'm not going to activate the Hungarians because they're a pretty small group and they don't do a lot. I could kind of fill in the gap, but I think there's enough in here with this 4th Panzer Group to get the job done. The 2nd Army will cover those flanks. So they're going to push through quickly to try to seize Voronezh. It's a big objective city. It's across the Don River. It'd be nice if they could capture that. That's an objective. Either way, if they fail or if they succeed, they're going to hit that Don River at some point and then begin to suddenly shift their drive to the south through the relatively clear open terrain along those roads, where they'll get to around at this point, the nexus between points 2 and 3, somewhere around here. And this is where I'm hoping that Paulus's group, is it Paulus, I think? No, not, sorry. 1st Panzer Army Group will push through. This is Paulus here, right? The 1st Panzer Army will push through here. It'll be tougher going. They're facing the Donets River. It's a very difficult obstacle. There's some tough terrain through there. But if they can, we're really relying on that 4th Panzer Group in the north to push through quickly, push down, and link up somewhere around here. The further east they can link up, the better. So recognising that this southern drive will be slower, more of a grind, if they can push through somehow, pocket a lot of those Russians. That's the first 3 steps in this plan. This then will lead directly into the critical kind of end point in that plan, which is the capture of Rostov there on the right of the screen. So you can see where I plan to link up these forces here and then quickly rush to capture Rostov by turn 10. So this would be a quick plan. 10 turns to head from, cover half the map area pretty much. Half the campaign area. Caucasus to the south here, of course. So 1, 2, 3, and then link up for Rostov. Whilst also trying to push east, southeast towards Stalingrad and into the Caucasus region. I don't have. We'll see how this unfolds before I then push on Rostov and see how I can push on Rostov. How we get this done is by activating or supporting headquarters. So you'll see all these little headquarters, all these little markers down here. The Germans activate these each turn, and that basically provides fuel for their panzer divisions, and it provides attack supply for all their other formations. I need to think about those things together. So fuel during the supply segment, and then attack supply during the combat segment for all other units. Whew. So we're at the start of a long campaign here. The first turn in a 60-turn campaign. As I said, we're going to be activating, or supporting I should say, all these forces here. They're automatically supported, and then all those yellow forces further to the south. That's the plan. Okay. What else do I need to talk about? I'm pretty much using all historical options available. So there are a lot of options in this game. The Germans have a lot of options for utilising certain plans, different type of alternative invasions and airborne operations, things like this. Reinforcements that can be brought from the north, or reinforcements that were historically shipped off to the Western Front, or to the west rather I should say at this stage. You can utilise these plans. It means the Germans often sacrifice victory points to bring on extra forces, but wherever possible I'll be using historical options. So what do I mean by historical options? I mean things like there are limitations on, there's an optional rule for the limitation of Panzer Division or Panzer Group activations. I'll be utilising that, which restricts the Germans somewhat. I'll also be, however, restricting the Russians to the Soviets to their sort of historical mindset, and that involves Stalin's no step back order on the 28th of July. So between turns 11 and 15, no Soviet unit may leave an enemy zone of control. That'll be interesting. The Soviets must make 2 prepared assaults on turn 1 and 1 on turn 2. But the 6th Army is limited as well, so I pointed them out earlier. So they only have half their movement allowance on the first turn. Now I'm overcoming that by basically not activating them on the first turn, shifting my attention further south. And a couple of other historical rules as well, which I can talk about as they come up. Now, what else? Okay, so what's going to happen is, as soon as these guys begin to advance, they're going to activate, or I'm not sure what the correct phrase is, commit, perhaps, the Soviet units that they encounter. So whenever an Axis attack, whenever Axis units attack Soviet units, or move into a Soviet setup area, they commit all Soviet units within that army setup area immediately. So as soon as these units begin to attack around here, all the units in this setup area will become activated. Now I'm going to hit the 13th Army and the 40th Army here. So they will instantly become activated, all units in these setup areas. All right, I'm going to try and... yeah, that's going to happen. What that then does is it gives adjacent setup areas, so it'll give the 21st Army what's called a commitment roll on the next turn. They will roll to see if they become committed. If they pass that roll, these guys all become active. If they fail, they'll become active on the next turn. And once they become active, you look to the next army area. So they can become active and so forth. So it has a bit of a domino effect as these Russian units kind of gradually wake up and become committed. The one part of the plan that I do worry about here is the activation of Russians in this 9th Army area here. So by activating all these units, it's going to have a domino effect both ways. The 9th Army will begin to wake up, and the 37th Army will begin to wake up. Now you could employ a strategy where you just focus on the north. I could just do 6th Army activation, for example, which would just sort of wake up units maybe in the 21st. I could shift all their forces out through here. And as I'm saying this, I'm thinking that might actually be a really good idea. Yeah, the half movement rate, 6th Army, swinging around through here. Oh, is that a better plan? Because the one flaw in this plan is the fact that it'll wake up Russian units, it'll commit Russian units pretty much all along the front, so they'll all become active. The alternative is, if I shift to the 6th Army here, and they're only going to commit, I could really focus on this area through here and combine and swing around immediately. I might even do that. So it means committing the 21st Army. They've got a broad setup area, so all these units here will become committed, but it'll slow down the commitment of Soviet forces further to the south, and it'll give the 6th Army that opportunity to swing around, link up. In effect, what I'm doing is moving might even focus through here. We'll call this 2A. And then we'll bring in the 1st Panzer Army to link up with that combined force at a later stage. I like that idea better. Because this way, we're only committing Soviet forces in the far north. These guys will stay quiet, which will slow down that domino effect further to the south. It means that the Russians around the Rostov area will be far slower to reach commitment. I'm going to do that. That's my plan. Developing these plans on the fly. Okay, so that's the plan. We've changed these plans, and it's time to get started. So the sequence of play starts with the weather phase. We consult the turn record track, and we have clear weather. Of course, it's June 1942, clear weather. We now allocate air points to each player, and pretty much what we have here is 3 air zones. The camera here is right on the border between the Voronezh and the Stalingrad air zones, this dotted line here. There's another air zone, a 3rd air zone to the south, the Caucasus air zone. And what I do is I basically allocate air units to these zones. I have my air box way off on the far right of my table, but I've just basically thrown everything into that Voronezh zone because I'm focusing on this northern sector up here. That's where my air units will go. They help with ground assault and they can help with interdiction, but I'm not too concerned with interdiction on this first turn. The Russians are really restricted in their movements on this first turn. As I said, most of the units are non-committed, so I'm not too worried about interdiction for now. Maybe that's a mistake. Maybe I should be thinking about sort of key choke points or something. But for now, it's broad open Russian rear, and they can move quite freely if they want to. I'll also point out the the green tokens on these Russians are the Russian reserve units. They are committed from the start, so they're already kind of awake. We don't have to make any sort of, well, they'll be awake anyway as soon as the Germans attack. Okay, so air points have been allocated, 8 German, 2 Russian. It's really nicely abstracted here, so you just have these 8 German air units and you place them in combat and they get a column shift. Really nice way to abstract air. So after that air placement, the Axis can then place up to 3 of their air points for interdiction. As I said, I'm not going to place anything. We then get to the mutual supply determination phase. Supply is pretty straightforward here. We get to the Axis maintenance phase. Basically, there are 3 stages of supply: operational, out of supply, and isolated. The difference between out of supply and isolated is basically from one turn to the next. They become out of supply and then they become isolated. There are some special rules with mountain passes where you can you can prevent a unit becoming isolated by drawing supply across mountain passes, but that won't be happening until much later in the campaign. Axis maintenance phase. So the Axis player can break down or recombine divisions. They determine how many supply points they receive this turn, and as I've just been explaining, they can activate, or they can support all the pink formations up here, and they will support all the green formations up here and leave the Hungarians kind of in the centre there, just to sit around. So the final step in this maintenance phase is to check that all operational, in supply, Axis mechanised units, check that they receive full support from a supported headquarter by tracing within its command range. And again, this is pretty straightforward at the start. We look at the command range of these HQs. So all these guys here, for example, Axis mechanised units of named divisions. So these formations here, making sure they're within range of an HQ. So they're 5 away, they're less than 4 away, so these guys are all, in effect, fueled up. Right, this is basically a fuel check. The rules aren't quite explicit on here. There's a bit of confusion around why you're doing this here and what does attack supply later mean. Basically what this is a fuel check. You're checking that your mechanised divisions have fuel. If they do, they can now move at full movement rates. Okay, so 10, 10, 10, and so forth. Later in the combat segment, you'll check for similar ranges and support for combat for all other units. So these guys are fueled up and armed up. They have fuel and ammunition. All these other units will check something similar during the combat phase to check if they can draw combat supply or attack supply. But for now, we're just checking fuel. They're all fueled, and it's the same over in the green area where everyone starts off within range of their HQs. And in effect, what that means is we can flip all these. We should have flipped these all face down to show that they're unsupported. I won't worry about doing all that, but I'll fix it up later. Okay, the Soviet player, mutual reinforcement phase. The Axis player may place his reinforcements for this turn. I've checked the schedule. Yep, no Axis reinforcements on turn 1. The Soviet player may place his reinforcements in their entry area or hex. Now there are some weird Soviet turn 1 units. Okay, this is the Bryansk front release. If the Germans move into this, they'll be released on turn 1. Not the case just yet. I think they can come out midway through the turn if the Germans do move into those red star areas. I spoke about that in the introductory video. Okay, they can use replacements to rebuild eligible units. Soviet player can return units to the map. Either player can return 1 HQ. Then we get to the Axis player turn and the Axis movement phase. And this is a critical first turn. There are several types of movement. There's basically your most common tactical movement, which is where you're moving around the map. There is strategic movement, which is kind of your, typical strategic long-range movement. You've got, the Russians have rail movement, the Russians have Black Sea movement, but you've got 2 really special types of movement. Mobile Infiltration, which is where a German mech multi-step unit can make a 1 hex move that ignores enemy zones of control. Unfortunately, you can't do that into fortified zones, which you can see here, so they won't be able to do that. And then there are mobile assaults, and this is where a fully supported multi-step unit, so not a stack, but a unit, can attack a defending hex. So this one unit will attack the entire hex. They can only do it, so this unit here is in 2 zones of control, so they won't be allowed to do that. You can only do it if you only have 1 enemy unit exerting a zone of control on your hex. And you can't do it into a town, city, rough, high woods, cross rivers, things like that, or during mud turns. So how am I going to push through? Now that we're looking at the detail, we've got the broader plan. How do I push through here? How do I get to Voronezh as quickly as possible? Obviously, smashing through these front lines somehow. And what's the way to go? Nice road along there would be good to link up on. Nice road here to link up on. The other thing is, the other priority for the Germans is targeting Russian HQ. Finding, bit of fluff on that camera, finding and hitting those Russian HQs to basically put the Russians out of command. So that might be the focus for our drive. If I can somehow push through here, they're in rough, so I want to try and avoid the rough terrain as much as possible. Not good for mech units. Stick to the clear, avoid the rivers, so kind of pushing through here. How wide do I want that push to be? I don't know. Yeah. Oof. Alright, they're on our side of the river, so they'll have a fortified zone helping them, but that's about it. Now, only 1 multi-step unit attacking out of a hex, but units with the white band at the top here only count as half for that rule. So what I can do here is move these guys both in like that, and they can both attack out of that hex. Do I want to push? I probably have enough forces to be able to push all the Russians out of the way. My question is it better to do it as a prepared assault or to do it as a mobile assault? So the advantage of a mobile assault is it's undertaken during the movement phase, and it helps clear out defenders from an area. The most common result, a common result with a weak defender is a defender retreat. So you're most likely, with the defense of 3, as many of these hexes have, you basically look at their defense strength. It's not an odds ratio, it's just defender strength. You're likely to get a DR result. Worst case, you'll get an attacker disrupted, but that DR3 will push the Russians back into this second defensive line. If I wait for prepared assaults, I'll have pretty good odds, which will likely eliminate those units, but I'll have to wait until the next turn before I move up to that second line. So my thinking is, if I do these mobile assaults, I can push the Russians back to that second line and then assault that second line straight away, which will hopefully force some eliminations and retreats and let me exploit beyond that second line. So I might be sort of up to here by the end of the first turn as opposed to just hitting the second line. So I think mobile assaults seem to be the way to go. Let's give it a go and see what happens. I'm going to try and avoid this hills terrain, because the hill terrain provides, I think it's a -1 dice roll modifier, -1 when attacking across a minor river as well. So I want to try and push here and get across that river, and then maybe we can swing around and avoid that minor river along this area and try and focus our gap through here. That's a hills area. That's not, so but that looks to be well defended. Yeah, strength of 4. So every little strength point that the Russians add to their defence shifts up to a much more difficult column. We'll also point out that Germans have 8 air points, the Soviets have 2. They can use air during these mobile assaults as well. It's pretty good for the Germans, +2 dice roll modifier. Yeah. Let's... It can't be the infantry division there, but we could draw... I think we can draw on them. They count for the purposes of mobile assaults, I believe. Mechanized multi-step unit. Yeah. So... let's try and push this unit out of the way first. Maybe with these guys. B rated. B rating. That's about... we could get lucky and get 3-1, which adds an extra modifier to the mobile assaults. Or I can bring in the A's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... or maybe I spearhead with these A's. So what I'm looking at here is the combat rating. So A rating, when you draw a strength chip, you look at the strength. So geez, that would be a nice one to have drawn. In this case, A would have a strength of 14. The B's, if they drew this, would have a strength of 11. All right, so you're looking at the rating of these units. And again, if they can get 3-1 odds against the defenders, they can get that modifier. So it seems, I mean, my best chance of success is to push forward with the A's. So I'm going to go 1, and then 2, 3, 4 for the mobile assault. So 4 movement points spent thus far. That's my best chance of success. I'm also going to spend a German air point. To give me a +2 modifier. Now the Russians only have 2 air points, so they're not going to respond to this. So we look at our mobile assault. We have a fortified zone, so -1. Let's draw a strength chip and see what that A ranked unit has got. It's an 11, which is nice. That gives them 11 to 3, a 3-to-1 ratio for another +1 modifier. And the air point. So +3 -1 is a +2 modifier to a dice roll of 2, which is a result of 4, which is enough to see the defender retreating. Okay, so they were there. 1, 2, 3. So they've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now the reason I'm moving here is because I now surround this unit. Although maybe it'd be more prudent to just push up and attack up here. No, we'll hold there. We'll see how we go. Now the next thing I want to do is push this unit out of the way and try and open a gap to be able to maybe hit this second line. Again, I want to get across this minor river and hit them from the right hand side there. So, and again, I'll use my A units. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it'll be 5, 6, 7. And we'll spend an air point again, and the Russians will... 7. The Russians will respond, I think. Oh. Yeah, the Russians will respond. If they can just slow down this attack... yeah, they'll throw an air point up. Okay, combat strength drawn is a 12, so we have 4-1, which is a +2 modifier in this mobile assault. It is a fortified zone, so -1. The air is cancelled, so no modifiers for air either way. So -1 for that. +2 for the odds is a net of +1 modifiers to the roll of 1, which is a result of 2, attacker disrupted or disorganized. Now that's not good news for the Russians. That unit has to stop. The good news is they can make another attempt. I seem to recall that defenders can be the subject of mobile assaults. I think it's twice. Any number of times they can be the target of a mobile assault. Okay, so I can try again and again and again. All right, so they failed and they have to stop. It's probably more prudent to come around, get across the river to avoid that die roll modifier. We'll bring in this B-rated unit. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, stacking's fine. 4. And we'll throw another air point up. And the Soviets will respond with another air point. And we draw a combat chit for that armor unit. And we have it's B rated, 12, can do it. Another 4-1, which is a +2. -1 for the fortification is +1 dice roll modifier to my die roll of 6 is 7 is DR3. So they have to go 1, 2, 3. And these guys, where have they come from? They've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. It clears out that central area. It means the next units that move up can start to hit that second Soviet line. Alright, so I'm going to keep these units up the front here for now. I'm going to try to use this B-rated unit, and I'm going to try and hit somewhere, maybe hit here, maybe hit right there. And try and push up this way. So the Soviets now are out of air support. That's a hill hex. It'd be nice to clear that out as well. If I can clear that out, I can kind of maybe exploit through this gap. So both of these units are what I'm looking at. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. In fact, because this is so important, I'm going to bring up some of these A-rated units instead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm throwing an air unit in, and I'm drawing a strength counter. Oh, it's bad. I don't have 3-1. But I have the air unit, and the Soviets can't respond. So it's +2 and no fortified zone there. So just a +2 to my die roll of 2, which is 4, which is a DR3. 1, 2, 3. So what have we got? 8. And we have to stop there because we're in an enemy zone of control. Okay, so all we're really doing here is pushing the Soviet line back, aren't we? We're not causing step losses. But, well, I think we're making some ground at least. Alright, now this is the next target. And that's still not going to open up any gap really, is it? That's where the HQ is. That's where I'd like to get to. If I can get into a position to hit that HQ. So what I need is another A-ranked unit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They can't make it because 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They can just have enough. Another air unit. A strength chit drawn, which is not good. So it's +2 for the air, -2 for the hills. So the hills negate the air. Strength of 3, die roll is a 5. It'll cause the defender to retreat. 1, 2, 3. And yes, they can advance into that hex, but then they must stop there. But what that does now is opens a bit of a corridor for me to advance and maybe hit that HQ. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plus that terrain. 6, 7, 8. Okay. I'll be able to hit the HQ there. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll get the infantry up into there. We can bring up. This is basically a battalion. I don't think it counts. One-step units don't count against stacking. They help for combined arms attacks. Yeah. Starting to wonder if maybe the prepared assaults would have been the better way to go. Let's hold them there for now. These guys are in a good position around here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we'll bring up the infantry. Actually, what we could also do is maybe push this unit back away from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which would then surround this unit. So let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll try that. 6, 7, 8, 9 for the river. We'll throw another air point at this. Combat strength marker is a 10, so we'll get 3 to 1. It's a cross and minor river, so it's a +2 modifier. To roll a 5, which is 7, which is a DR3. 1, 2, 3. Which surrounds this unit here at least. Okay, so what we can do now is 1, 2, 3. I can surround this unit as well. I probably don't need both of those on that location. We can probably move the armour through into a better position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to there. We'll bring them up into the same position because they'll need to attack there. Okay. What else do we need to do and think about? Getting our headquarters up, certainly. Some infantry back here which we can help bring to the attack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now there's a combined arms bonus as well. The yellow bar means it's automatic. The blue bar means I think they have to, I think it's they attack with infantry. They qualify for that bonus. If it's blue and there is a motorized infantry or non-mechanized unit in the stack, which is attacking with it basically. So yeah, pretty straightforward. Bringing these guys. So what are we going to do here? We'll bring them into there, so we get the combined arms bonus there. Although I think that'll be negated by their armor there, so maybe that's a bit of a waste. That's bonus. We could get one up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We get a combined arms, but also negated by that Russian armor. So maybe there instead. So the defender doesn't get combined arms bonus, they just negate the attacker's combined arms bonus. So what else can we do here? Maybe just bring a lot of forces to bear against this hex. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And bring that armor through as well. I don't know what we're going to do here. Do we bother attacking that infantry or just leave it? What I could probably do is go shift them back a bit, shift them around just to really focus that combat on here with overwhelming odds, and now look to push my HQs through. So Panzer Corps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Infantry support. And that's about it for movement. What I'll do, just to... Oh, they're in rough actually, so actually we'll move the line up a bit just to stop the Russians moving forward. Keep them in those, locked in those zones of control. Yeah, I think that's about it. So we got, you also get, I mentioned combined arms, you also get a bonus for encirclement. It's basically surrounding your enemy with zones of control. So encirclement here, encirclement here, encirclement here. We have 3 encirclements and kind of pushing our luck down here with 3 weaker attacks. Yeah, this one in particular on an HQ. I've burnt a lot of air. See, I don't know if that's the best strat. I don't know. I feel like... look what we've done. We've pushed the Soviet line back 6 hexes or so. And if we can get a good attack here, a good prepared assault, we can get that exploitation movement a little bit further, maybe, depending on the roll, depending on what happens. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, let's shift focus to the 6th Army, and they're going to try and not. So what's basically happened here now, I should point out, is over here, because the Russians have been attacked, they are now activated or committed, and they are now committed. Okay, so that's the risk. When you attack Russians, they become committed. I don't want to wake up too many Russians in this area. Some strong formations here. What I'd like to do is ignore the 28th Army area and focus just on the 21st area out here. All right, so that's kind of the boundary of my activities. I don't want to go past that line. Okay, so these guys will wake up. We'll wake up the 21st Army. I want to keep the 28th asleep for now, uncommitted, basically. And I do that by pushing through here, and these are some weak defenses along this area. You can see 2, 2, 3, 3. So here in particular, if I can push through here and drive straight, I'm not even allowed to enter their area. So I'm going to have to drive along this corridor and hit this unit here. How am I going to do that? I want to bring my, I think a B ranked unit should be able to do it. So we'll bring these guys. 1, 2, 3. Oh no, they can't do that. Oh, where do we have to start? We may have to start. That's in the. Ooh, we have to start from here, I think, and push through there. So we're going to have to go... We're going to push both of these units out of the way before I can push through, because that's going to be... If I push them out of the way, there's a zone of control there. It may be prudent to push these out of the way first. Woods terrain adds a -1 modifier. That'd be -2 there. Maybe this is where I bring my A ranked units. Let's try that. 1, 2, and attack on here. I'm going to spend an air unit here. And yep, I'm burning a lot of these air units because I think, yeah, I don't know. I've committed to these mobile assaults, so that's what's happening. So they've got -2, I've got +2. We draw a combat chit to see what their strength is. It's a 10, so we'll have 3 to 1, which will be a net +1 +1 modifier. To a roll of 9, which is going to give me a 10, which is a D1R3. So D1, 1, 2, 3. That's a 1-step unit. Yeah, 1-step unit. And we advance and have to stop because of the zone of control. What that means now is I can follow up through some of these areas. So I can go... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No air. But I have now 4 to 1 odds. So +2 modifier to a roll of 2, which is 4, DR3. 1, 2, 3. 3, I guess. How'd they go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they have to stop there. The next A unit can now come along. Actually, I'll bring a B unit here. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4 to 1 odds. With a roll of 10. Ooh. A roll of 0. I don't know if the dice is a 10 or a 0. I think it might be a 0. So plus, what did I say, +2? 0 + 2 is actually a DR3. You don't need much versus these weak units. So 1, 2, 3, and they've woken up now. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll shift there. Okay, so not great. I was really trying to push out through here. We can still bring. What can we do now? HQ. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We can't. We can overrun, right? Because we can overrun. This is different to mobile assault. I can overrun lone enemy HQs. Boom. 1 extra movement point, which we can afford. It's a dead HQ, goes 5 turns ahead on the turn track. It'll come back, but for now, 21st Army area just lost their headquarters. Do we have more options? Okay, what else can we do? What else can we do? Where can they go? Surround this tank core, perhaps? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, get a big attack on here, perhaps. I could try to continue driving, but I think... actually, why don't I try continue driving? I don't have a lot of armor left, so how am I going to... Actually, if I can't get this done, because I can't hit through here, because there's 2 zones of control into this hex. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll get an attack on there. And see what happens. Okay, so we can also push up 1, 2, 3. Trying to avoid this area again. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's push our Panzer divisions through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Push to there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Surround them. I completely forgot about the optional rule that I said I was going to use about von Paulus having half movement rates. Too late now, I've forgotten about that. So yeah, not using that rule. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. No combat going through here because I don't want to activate commit the 28th Army. So we have a bit of a quiet area here. In fact, my arrow should be kind of pointing up this way rather than to the right. And that's about it. That's the Axis movement phase complete. It's probably a bit slower than it normally would be because I'm trying to take my time, double checking things as I go, trying not to make any mistakes. We now get our prepared assault markers. And we think about prepared assaults. So as I said, I reckon I can get an attack on there at decent strength. I could probably get an attack there at decent strength. That will be a, what do you call it? Encirclement attack. That will be an encirclement attack. And I won't attack these on the front here. In fact, I could probably attack them as well. And now shifting back to the far north. Prepared assault. So just to really reiterate, I'm not convinced this is the best strategy, but kind of rolling with things as we go. All right, that's my prepared assaults done. And we're up to the Axis combat, I guess, resolution phase. So air points. I only have 1 air point left, and I want to put it on that HQ because I want this attack to succeed. So I don't need to worry about these green markers anymore because they're activated. Okay, so there's no, as I said, no Soviet air points left. All right, we can now resolve combat. And where do we go first? Let's try this encirclement here. So I've got, so as you work through, you've got to draw combat chits A, a 4 for the attackers. We've got a 9, a 12, a 9, and an 8. I'll place these properly in just a moment, but let's work through it. So 10, 22, 31, 40 on 4. 10 to 1 odds. What are they in? They are in a fortified zone, right? Yep. So prepared assault. 10 to 1 in clear is off the chart. So here's the CRT. The ratio is greater than the right-hand column, but less than 12 to 1 resolved in the right-hand column. If you can get 12 to 1, it's an automatic that result. So we're looking pretty good. 10 to 1. What else do we need to think about? 10 to 1. 11 to 1 for the air point I used. No, didn't use an air point there. Sorry. 10 to 1. Fortified zone brings it down to 9 to 1. Combined arms bonus is negated. The encirclement bonus one shift to the right. So basically, yeah, we're looking at 9 to 1, that final right-hand side column. Roll the dice. Get a roll of 6, which is D2, R2. They're both eliminated. They're encircled. So basically, during encirclement, their losses are doubled, so they would lose 4 steps. They can't retreat. Now I need to check that. I think I need to double check what happens to those armoured units. I'll figure that out in a moment, but for now, so there was basically 4 losses and 3 retreats to satisfy. They were able to satisfy 2. That's 5 remaining results. 2 hits and 3 retreats. What that means is that because it was an encirclement, my infantry can advance into the hex but must then stop. Any armoured units, and I think that includes silhouetted units, can advance 1 and then 4 additional hexes. Having said that, don't want to really push them out and isolate them, so I'm going to keep them together as solid formations. And that's basically how easy combat works. It's a really nice, simple combat system. As I said, a bit slow on the first run through, but very clear. I hope I haven't made any mistakes, because I'm saying it's really easy and clear. What else? What else could I have done wrong? Fortified zone. I counted huge odds. Yeah. So basically, folks, that's I might wrap this up here, but that gives you a sense of, how much of a manageable monster this is. I'll keep playing through, and we'll try to do some live plays, and report back soon on progress.